On my journey.
Alright guys, welcome to the Melanin Pals early game breakdown of Godfall. Godfall was a hyped up game from the E3 lineup that is being released by EA, and I'm going to give you guys a quick, again, early game breakdown on what people can expect. So if you didn't want to spend the $60 or you sleep on the game or just want to see some reviews beforehand, then tune in for this entire video and I'll let you know what's up. The plot for Godfall early on lets the audience know that there really isn't going to be any of that nasty deep thought process going on. You're not going to find any subtext or a message here to look for in the game. It's just a good old-fashioned murder simulation the way God intended. The protagonist feels like I'm playing a Greek god on a path of vengeance and bloodshed by any means, looking to restore his lost honor and reconnect with the family he once had. Stoic yet fierce, yet a caring and lonesome aura around him which makes the audience clamor for carnage yet yearn for a friend or companion. I am absolutely certain this character is not loosely based on anyone popular. Guaranteed this is a first right here. Honestly, I don't remember much from this story. At first I wanted to blame my attention span, but honestly, as I went back to familiarize myself with the plot, I recognized that it's just not memorable. Of course, it's too early to call this for sure, but up until the defeat of the first boss, you could skip every cutscene and still have a solid grasp of the plot. The writers even go out of their way to create a bit of backstory in the prologue, so I appreciate the extra effort in giving the players an emotional attachment or a sliver of fuck as to why they should want this random robot Kratos knockoff to succeed. There's so much you can do with Bland. Think of it like food. All the seasonings and spices, the technique and how to cook the food and which sides to pair it with, creating the next best dish or a flavorful spin-off of the classic food. This game does fucking none of that. And while again, there's nothing wrong with bland, that doesn't mean we don't deserve at least some fucking seasoning. The players and audience deserve more, but in this case, bland works out fine. For whatever it lacks in plot, it certainly makes up for it in running my GPU to 97%. As far as gameplay goes, let me get to the biggest spoiler alert and disappointment first. This motherfucker cannot jump unless it's warp jumping to a warp point. He can climb, he can leap, he can slide. The acrobatics on this character are shockingly developed, but for whatever reason I don't know, the game developers did not add a fucking jump button. Whatever happens in the future with this game, they need to add a fucking jump feature. My favorite aspect of the game right now by far is the voice switching when the protagonist changes his armor and gives me more of the idea that this character that I'm playing is truly a god or a being that is beyond the need of a sex or gender. Enemies will give the player a decent challenge and keep you focused on the fight in front of you. Players can also increase their stats in battle by equipping, no shit, armor and accessories. With this game, weapons truly feel like customization and entirely up to the style of the players. I haven't gotten to any part of using the weapons where I feel that one weapon trumps the other objectively, but I will say I have the most fun using dual blades and have the least fun using a hammer. To condense this and give a better example, I found the combat gameplay similar to God of War and Shadow of Mordor. If the levels scaled or farming for level ups was a bit harder, while the gameplay focused and rewarded skill over levels, then I think I could find myself truly enthralled by the gameplay combat. But for what it is right now, it's not bad, and at times it's very rewarding after being dicked around a few times by a mini-boss. This game does have a mechanic that gacha fans will rejoice over. It's scrapping shitty material by the boatload to give you your better material at an incredibly slow pace. This is one of the great reasons why the story being bland works, but as an adult with shit to do, the grind should be fixed for sure. Thankfully, this is the only gacha element in the game, but they really went out of their way to find how to make this grinding the perfect amount of slow and annoying. I don't know if this game is even able to appropriately be judged by someone in my tax bracket. For the background visuals, not even shit you can interact with. They made piles and small hills of lost gold and treasures. Just some shit you can casually fucking step on as my phone rings in the background and fucks up my audio. If there is anything that gives away the god and royalty nature of the protagonist, it's definitely in the small action of running over floors covered in wealth. This shit is baller as fuck for a few different reasons, and it's certainly one of the things I appreciated the most when it came to the visuals. Besides the floor is wealthier than 99% of America, The visuals are absolutely stunning, and I hate it carries how boring and meh the rest of the game can be at times. The first level, Earth, is seemingly barren of any human life forms. They don't really explain that. But the trees and the greenery are abundant in life. Colors are vibrant and pretty high in saturation. If Earth has no human inhabitants, then this is truly the most beautiful depiction of a post-apocalyptic Earth I've ever seen. The best part about this map design is that while you're pretty much stuck on Earth for the first several missions, the scenery changes like 12 different times, each one holding something unique and original that you most likely will not find in other areas of the vast maps. The weapon and armor design are epic and match the tone of the story very well. As of right now, I'm not really crazy or in love with any of the weapon designs, but the armor designs are fantastic. There are a few armor designs that share heavy similarities, but the range on these available armors are impressive. Going from a futuristic ancient Rome type of armor the protagonist wears to an alien-esque looking armor that belongs in a Power Ranger villain concept book. One of the armors straight up looks like Lord Zed. I hope that this is a personal thing, but I do wish I could appreciate the visuals in medium and low settings the same I can on high and epic. The quality diminishes by a wide considerable amount as you scale down from epic to high to why even bother. The main area where you switch between armor and craft weapons can go from dazzling lights emitting from the pool in an ethereal aura surrounding the female Zordon, to a circle of water that's pretty shiny sitting in the front of Cortana, to self-deprecation and fear that being too poor will ruin your visuals for a $60 video game. Also, for a game that draws inspiration from bloodier games, I would like to start seeing more blood real soon and more executions. The music is grand, with an epic battle feeling that makes me want to embark on a journey of revenge and murder, while giving me the perfect background music to reclaim my pride and reclaim godhood, is what I want to say. I don't remember shit about the score at all. I remember once saying to myself, oh, that's a neat song, as it ended, but the main area song got real annoying real fast. I'll have to go back and re-listen, but honestly right now, nothing is super standout about the music. The voice acting is great in terms of I think the protag sounds like Optimus Prime, so that's cool. The other few characters this far in the game are okay, with Zordon leaving hints of compassion in her voice work, but the friend whose name I can't remember sounds like he doesn't belong in the game at all. Nothing about this game is going to be super impactful to the future of AAA titles. It's not standout or innovative in any way, and it doesn't try to be. The early gameplay so far is very routine, so it's entirely up to the player if they enjoy this game. As far as an impact on the outside world, the game has several threads speaking on how the game causes massive GPU usage on the PC and requires several in-depth setting changes in order to avoid a chopping and freezing happening periodically during the exploration and mostly during gameplay, like when people switch weapons. Even with multiple different settings discovered by players, there has not been a real one solution that fixes all with the chopping issue. My personal experience of the game is very similar. I'm able to run the game smoothly on epic settings with a minimal chopping and freezing during combat only. In order to completely get rid of the chopping, I have to take my settings down to 720p and move some visual settings down to high and medium. This overall doesn't change much of the game visually, but it's noticeable compared to all epic settings. So if you're heavily into graphics, then this could be a potential issue, and if you don't really give a shit about graphics, then you should, because besides visuals, this game doesn't have much else to offer. And I don't know if it's my personal settings for OBS, but this game on anything higher than 720p windowed is just absolutely unusable footage, and I definitely did a run up to the first boss battle the other day and died a little inside when I found my footage was unusable. The last appreciation that is a small aspect of the game is when the protagonist changes armors, the voice changes as well. I loved hearing the female voice go from Mesa once I changed into that armor, and it gave some insight and speculation as to what exactly the energy living inside this armor is. In in-game cutscenes, even with the female armor changing, they still refer to her as the protagonist's name. And for many reasons, this is impressive and brilliant on their part, and mainly I believe it makes the protagonist and the race of his people far more interesting. One thing I would absolutely change is jumping. Just let me fucking jump. It's not that hard at all. It feels a bit off to be able to constantly dodge roll and parry attacks with no real drawbacks, but I'm fine with playing as a character with limitless stamina. The difficulty would probably raise by a chunk if stamina was added to every action, and although a smart mechanic, I've never liked the idea of constantly grinding to raise my stamina. My final thoughts on the game is nothing personal against the devs or the game and how it plays, but the realization that devs will start to have a Drake-type mentality when creating big AAA games in the future. Meaning they will let fans overhype the absolute shit out of a project and churn out the bare minimum with nothing special, thought-provoking, magical, or immersive, and let fans find small reasons to jerk it off while ignoring the entire lack of anything mesmerizing, and just finding happiness in the menial and occasional decent aspect. I would recommend this game if you're into routine grinding and simple gameplay backed up with an otherworldly image, but not until it goes down in price or more DLC comes out next year should anybody really rush to spend $60 on it. Anyone who starts this game late would not be missing out on a single thing, like exclusive gear or weapons and items that are overpowered. I definitely won't say don't go buy the game, but at the absolute bare minimum, you should watch gameplay videos and visit the website to learn more. Speaking of gameplay videos, you can watch our exclusive Godfall gameplay that's uploaded to the channel. I'm just kidding, I'm not replaying this fucking game after I beat it.